Politicians are good at making promises.
Strong, reliable protections for our consumers.
Our nation has made a promise to America's seniors.
But don't the central planners see the unintended consequences of their laws? Like cash for clunkers. Does this make sense? Sure, it'll stimulate the auto business. Stimulate, stimulate, stimulate. $9.50. Politicians often say, we need a higher minimum wage.
It's a fairness issue.
But it would kill her job.
I think I was making a good amount of money.
Empower women.
Title IX was meant to create equality.
What it ends up doing is lessening the opportunities for men.
We don't need you lawyer tyrants. The politicians' laws let protesters bully banks into giving risky loans. Isn't that kind of like extortion?
It's the law.
The politicians promise new stadiums will create jobs.
Dear guy!
But do they?
It's handing money from your right hand to your left and declaring I'm rich.
Do you have someplace else to go? Did you know that government wants you in the alpaca business? And in a house you can't afford?
Honey, there's $8,000 in here.
And what's the dumbest boondoggle? Ethanol?
Has been a case study in the law of unintended consequences.
You're a parasite feeding off the taxpayer. Maybe the biggest boondoggle is
Health care for all.
tonight, my top 10 list of politicians' good intentions gone wrong.
And now, reporting from our nation's capital, John Stossel.
The politicians always say they'll fix things, but their laws have unintended consequences. Let's count them down. We begin with promise number 10. Government can and should help the car makers. How? I know. Let's destroy some cars. Does this make sense? Sure, it'll stimulate the auto business. That was the idea behind cash for clunkers.
Cash for clunkers, we'll pass cash for clunkers.
Democrats and some Republicans voted for it.
We're thrilled to be a part of jump-starting the economy.
For 2 months last summer, the administration paid people $3,000 if they'd have their older car crushed and buy a new one. They say that stimulated the economy.
That program was good for automakers, it was good for consumers.
Good for the suppliers. It is good for workers.
Gee, I guess I should destroy more stuff.
Cash for clunkers may be the dumbest policy ever.
The Cato Institute's David Bowes and Edmunds.com CEO Jeremy Anwill are among many who point out the increase in cars sold during the Cash for Clunker month simply stole sales from months before and after.
What's missing is that most of the cars that were sold under the program would have been sold anyway.
Well, it was successful.
Progressives like Christian Dorsey of the Economic Policy Institute point out that Cash for Clunkers did increase car sales. So that just steals it from future years.
Well, it does to a certain degree. That's what stimulus in some ways is all about.
To get free money to get a new car.
Of course, there were the usual government screw-ups.
Federal government can't process a simple rebate.
Then Cash for Clunkers ran out of money.
The Department of Transportation telling lawmakers that they may need to suspend the program.
Instead, Congress just appropriated more of your money.
We are not discontinuing the program.
And more cars were destroyed. More success. How far can I carry this principle? The guitar business is struggling. I know what to do. Let's destroy some guitars. The economy's struggling. Sales are down. We need to stimulate the economy. This'll do it. If I destroy some things, then they'll have to make new ones. That'll create jobs. Stimulate, stimulate, stimulate. Why is it good to destroy usable stuff?
Well, yes, cars that were taken off the road were still drivable, but at the same time, they're not leading America forward.
You look at a couple of cars like this that you would never think these are going to be cash for clunker cars.
You know, I hate to crush some of them. Some of them are better than what I drive sometimes.
Yet the politicians still say this was a good idea.
Breathing life back into the automobile sector of the American economy.
So if destroying cars is good for the auto business, wonder how much wealth I could create if I could just cause an earthquake.
This is a Fox News alert. A strong earthquake has rocked Haiti.
It seems crazy to imagine a disaster like this could help an economy, but some people think it can.
I think that this can be an opportunity for a real boom economy in Haiti.
She thinks that because she can see the jobs created for cleanup workers and building new buildings.
You okay?
Likewise, after September 11th, Paul Krugman said the attack could do some economic good. Rebuilding will increase business spending. People think that because they can see the rebuilding, just as they can see the extra car sales of cash for clunkers.
You can see the people going in to buy cars because the government is subsidizing the purchase of cars. What you can't see is what people would have bought if the government wasn't subsidizing the purchase of cars. Maybe they would have bought computers. Maybe they would have added a room onto their house. Maybe they would have put the money in their savings account to save for college. It's very hard to see what isn't done.
And there were other unintended consequences.
The Cash for Clunkers program may hurt you if you want to buy a used car.
Used car prices went up an average $1,800 because used cars that would have been sold were crushed. Those of you who hoped for a bargain on a used car, too bad. And one more unintended consequence. Charities that rely on used car donations were hurt.
The phone stopped ringing. We've gotten like 2 cars donated in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, it's tough.
So we raised the price of used cars. We reduced the number of cars given to charity. We barely affected the environment, and we spent several $billion on it.
It was more successful than we ever imagined.
Why doesn't the government just butt out?
You can't create a program that's going to make everybody happy. There are always going to be trade-offs. And I think the larger goals of Cash for Clunkers were honorable, and some of the trade-offs I can live with.
He can live with that. But can taxpayers? On to promise number 9. Congress must guarantee Americans a living wage. It's only fair. Protesters and politicians agree. Wages should be higher.
It's a fairness issue.
For years, America's minimum wage was $5.15 an hour. Last year, Congress raised it to $7.25. 14 states have gone further. Washington State, for example, guarantees workers $8.55 an hour. Progressives say it should be higher.
Absolutely.
What would that be about?
It would be about $9 an hour.
Well, it's a nice idea.
Economist Russ Roberts points out setting minimums has unintended consequences.
First reaction is, great, I got to get a raise. This is fantastic. I'm finally going to be able to buy this, that, and that, take care of my kids. And that, of course, is part of the political appeal of the minimum wage.
That's the seen benefit.
That's the seen benefit, if you keep your job.
What would happen if the government forced my company to increase wages?
Gosh,
you guys happy? You want that?
Aren't you guys, aren't you underpaid? Come on. So, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So let's give them a 50% raise. Your first thought is, that's awesome, 50%. Your second thought is, I wonder if they're going to keep as many camera people as they had before.
We quit hiring people without experience.
Merv Christ runs the Prime Cut, a combination meat counter and bar in Bakersfield, California.
Minimum wage jobs are an entry-level job to get someone some experience to do something. You raise that high enough, you cut those people out of the market completely.
When California's minimum wage rose to $8 an hour, he stopped hiring new people. Low-wage jobs used to be a way for kids and the unskilled to get into the labor force, to prove themselves. Most every gas station used to offer free window cleaning. Not anymore. The construction industry used to be a place teens could get a foot in the door, learn the discipline of regular work. But the minimum wage left many teens out of jobs. No wonder teen unemployment is 26%.
If they were to get rid of the minimum wage, we could easily hire more people.
Warren Myers manages public parks. When the minimum wage went up, he replaced workers with machines.
We're trying them out now, trying out various automatic gate solutions. I much prefer having a person because that person can be friendly and provide a smile, and they can provide information about the park, and they can answer questions and where are the bathrooms. But
with the higher minimum wage, he switched to automated ticket machines. Fewer people, more unemployment. In fact, unemployment has risen more in states that raised their minimum wage. What would happen if we threw out the minimum wage?
Oh my goodness. What that leaves is an employer in the catbird seat to drive that wage as low as possible.
But wait a second. These businesses would like to pay their employees as little as possible, but they must pay more than minimum wage, because good workers have choices. At this bowling alley restaurant, most workers make more than the minimum, but they didn't start there.
I was minimum wage as dishwasher, which was like $3.75, $4 somewhere. It's been a while back.
Now he makes $10 an hour.
Why is it that only 5% or less than the American workforce earns the minimum wage? The other 95, 97% that earn more, why are they being paid so much? Is it because their employers just feel guilty paying them less?
No, it's because employers have to pay them extra to keep good workers. Kelsey started working here when she was just 13.
For being only 13, I think I was making a good amount of money, so minimum wage was fine.
Now, Kelsey makes as much as $20 an hour.
If you work hard, you can make more. It's just, you have to prove yourself.
But had the minimum wage been what Senator Kennedy wanted,
Increasing the minimum wage to $9.50 an hour.
Kelsey may have never had that chance. Her job might have disappeared.
Some business at the margin says, I can make money paying people $6 an hour. I can't make it paying them $7.25. I won't expand.
If the cost of expanding workers is too much for you to absorb, then you probably don't have the best business model going.
Whoa, that's harsh. Then you deserve to fail? How does that help workers?
What could be more cruel than to raise your wage artificially and now you have no wage?
Higher unemployment thanks to government's good intentions.
If you work, you should not live in poverty.
I'm against sexism, aren't you? Men and women should be treated equally. That just seems fair. But it's a new idea.
Our culture used to say, we men are the breadwinners. Women do housework.
Flying high on my freedom, got a brand new rap.
Then came the women's movement. President Nixon signed Title IX, which says, no person shall, on the basis of sex, be subjected to discrimination. Government can create equality.
Empower. Empower. Empower women.
Vice President Biden says Title IX changed civilization.
We made a significant advance in civilization.
Title IX did that? No. By the time Title IX passed in 1972, life had already changed. 3 years before, when I graduated college, my college didn't even admit women. But by the time Title IX passed, it was already co-ed. And today there are more women in college than men. Parents demand soccer leagues for their girls, and they get them because institutions respond to consumer demand. But that's not good enough, say the Title IX lawyers.
The Women's Sports Foundation has conducted industry...
The Women's Sports Foundation is led by athletes like law professor Nancy Hogshead McCarr. McCarr won Olympic gold medals in swimming and a college scholarship only, she says, because of Title IX.
Duke University would not have given me that scholarship had it not been for that statute.
Maybe back then you needed to force it. But now colleges want to appeal to women.
Every day I'm on the phone with people who are having a hard time with their athletic programs.
Under Title IX, athletic participation is supposed to be sex proportionate. So if 50% of the students are women, 50% of the athletes better be women, or a school may get sued. So schools protect themselves by cutting boys' teams.
The mat was yanked out from underwater last summer when the university cut the wrestling program over Title IX.
JMU no longer has a swim team. It's one of 10 teams the school is cutting.
The USA Rugby Collegiate Champions.
Cal Berkeley were national rugby champions last year. But this year, the school told them they are no longer a varsity sport.
Today, the university gathered student athletes together to announce the news.
Pretty much all were in shock.
Give us something.
Coach Jack Clark says it's all about Title IX.
We have 60 males. We've ended up, demoted out of intercollegiate athletics because of male headcount.
If you're trying to even out the number of men and women, a team with 60 players is a fat target, even if they're national champions.
Right now we have 4 players on the national team, 12 All-Americans last year.
The school told them the team was cut to save money, but get this team is self-sufficient. They raise enough money to pay for themselves. They even offered to help pay for some women's teams.
Proposed helping to fund women's lacrosse and women's gymnastics.
But that wasn't enough.
All right, yeah, much better.
That's something that also shocked Cal's gymnastics coach.
I asked the athletic director if I handed her a check right now for millions of dollars, would we be reinstated, and she just said no.
No? Why? Because under Title IX, even if the athletes raise their own money and pay for a team themselves, it doesn't matter. The head counts must be even.
I think we get the short end of the stick.
These schools are competing for students. If there's demand, they'll give it to them. When the culture changed, 1 million girls' soccer teams appeared. It'll happen if there's demand. We don't need you lawyer tyrants.
Any way that you can measure it, women are behind.
Men and women are different.
Well, no, really. They may have different interests in different sports. They may want to play.
They're equally interested in sports. Girls are more likely to work on the yearbook. Boys want to smash into each other. We are just different.
So maybe boys do want to smash into each other and girls don't. But girls want to flip around on the floor and girls want to swim back and forth.
When Title IX was passed, men's gymnastics had more than 100 Division I teams.
Yeah.
Today there are just 17. 16 after Cal finishes its last season.
That'll have a huge impact on the success of the USA program.
McNeil, who's now training for the Olympics, says Title IX will kill the U.S. Olympic program.
Men's gymnastics programs can have a max of 6.3 scholarships. Women can have 12. Women do 4 events, men do 6 events. How can any person look at that and say, yeah, that's fair?
It isn't fair. It's just one of many unintended consequences of Title IX.
It tries to create equal opportunities for men and women. What it ends up doing is lessening the opportunities for men.
Continuing our countdown, now promise number 7. If politicians take your money and use it to build fancy stadiums like this one to host big events, that'll boost the economy. It's why America fought to get the Olympics.
The Olympic Games brought hundreds of thousands of tourists to China. It's a reason cities bend over backwards to get the next Olympics.
We want these games.
The president wanted the Olympics in his hometown so much that he and his wife personally campaigned for it.
I never dreamed that the Olympic flame might one day light up lives in my neighborhood.
Rio de Janeiro.
But they lost. Brazil won. This cheering suggests that America missed out. After all, Olympic boosters always say
the Olympic Games, have the ability singularly to transform an entire nation and a city.
The job, contracts, and opportunity.
Thousands and thousands of construction jobs.
But economist J.C. Bradbury says most of that construction ends up as waste.
In China, they built the Bird's Nest Stadium, which was a beautiful architectural feat. There's no need for it anymore. It sits virtually empty.
People remember the big crowds. They're less likely to remember the waste.
They always tell me this will be good.
Oh, it's going to put us on the map. We're going to have people coming from out of town spending their money, and then we're going to take that money and spend it and spread the wealth around.
Do they ever live up to their promises?
Never.
But politicians repeatedly claim building lavish new stadiums like this one planned for Miami will provide economic stimulus, unleash thousands of jobs, revitalize the economy.
Build it and they will come.
Always it sounds good, and the prognosticators are always predicting this is going to be hundreds of millions of dollars in benefits. The only problem is when economists go back and look at what actually happened, the benefits aren't there.
One reason is that stadiums are not in use most of the year. Baseball teams have only 81 home games. Basketball teams just 41. Football just 8.
But they do other things in those stadiums.
Oh, yeah, you want to say maybe there are a few concerts, there are a few festivals here and there. Again, okay, let's say you're having 100 events there. Still, that's basically a third of the year you're only having it open.
Yes, on game days, stadiums do provide jobs for people like ushers and stadium food vendors.
Hey, beer guy!
But those are just the seen benefits.
The unseen cost is that those people would otherwise be spending their money elsewhere in the local communities. At the local bar, there's one less bartender. There was one less waitress hired at another restaurant. A movie theater that had one less theater full. It's handing money from your right hand to your left and declaring I'm rich.
You can't see the person who doesn't get hired.
Absolutely. It's the classic seen versus the unseen. And we're always going to favor the seen.
The unseen, like the grocery store, doesn't have a politician in its pocket.
The grocery store isn't asking for big subsidies from government. We're taking from people we patronize every day and asking them to pay more to subsidize an already wealthy baseball team owner or football team owner.
So what do you do when the team says, we're going to leave?
Do what San Francisco did. When the Giants said, we're going to leave if you don't build us a new stadium, the city said, we're not going to do it. The owner realized, okay, you got me, I'll build a stadium for you. They don't need government welfare to help build these things for them. Let them do it.
The latest event that was supposed to revitalize the city was the G20.
Everybody say cheese.
Leaders and bureaucrats from 20 nations come together in one city to talk about the economy. When they chose Pittsburgh, the mayor was excited.
They see our beautiful skyline, they see our great three rivers.
Senator Bob Casey told residents the event would be an economic boon. Local businesses were told G20 would bring in thousands of visitors.
Patrick, you're all set.
Tim Tobich and Megan Lindsay own Franctuary, a hot dog shop that stayed open late for those thousands of new customers. But they never came.
It was just completely dead. Nobody was here. Certainly the fewest customers we've ever had.
I thought it was going to be a good thing at first, even though I'd like to think I should know better.
So where were all those guests the city promised? Oh, here are some.
Move out of the street.
1,000 state troopers.
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly.
No one sees a tank and thinks, oh, I'll go downtown for lunch.
Next year's G20 will be in Cannes, France. Good luck to them. Next, Uncle Sam wants to help you buy some of these. When we come back, I'll explain. Want to get rich? Uncle Sam will give you a break on one of these. That's Politicians' Promise Gone Wrong number 6.
We have got to support and strengthen family-based agriculture.
Supporting family-based agriculture is the good intention. And America is sure doing that.
Ready, big man? Come on.
In New Jersey, the most densely populated state, Rose Mogerman raises alpacas.
I'll be honest, the reason I got in, I was looking for a tax shelter.
So was this woman.
The tax benefits are great.
There are so many tax benefits for livestock breeding, and alpacas are relatively easy to raise, that one website even advertises, have Uncle Sam help you buy your alpacas. Have Uncle Sam
help buy your alpacas.
So who ends up paying for your alpacas? Uncle Sam.
Lots of people are getting in on it.
I had tractors and stuff that I always played with, but I could never write it off. But after purchasing the alpacas, all my toys all of a sudden became tax write-offs.
The Alpaca Breeders Association asked its members, on a scale of 1 to 10, what motivated you to buy? More than half rated tax benefits a 10.
We got into it for the tax reasons.
They may call themselves farmers, but they sound like accountants.
Take a Section 179 deduction.
Depreciated over 5 to 7 years.
There's something called CAUV.
Alpacas are also valued for their fleece.
Excellent gray fleece.
But selling fleece doesn't explain the growth in alpaca raising. 25 years ago, there were 150 in America. Now there are 150,000.
So, 10,000.
She has a pedigree that is solid gray.
At alpaca auctions, prices have gotten high.
It's only money. Don't be so uptight about it.
Just recently, an animal sold at auction for over $600,000.
Wow. But this is not necessarily a good thing. Do you have someplace else to go? This llama may not like me talking about this, but economists at the University of California, Davis warn the industry is a bubble. Government's good at creating bubbles. Last year, I reported how Congress's ridiculous tax credits created a bubble in golf cart sales.
It is endless the possibilities that this bill will pursue, encouraging energy-efficient products such as plug-in hybrid cars.
Unfortunately, the plugs are connected to coal plants. The National Research Council says electric cars may be worse for the environment. No matter.
The jobs that are going to be created.
This car dealer advertised free electric cars. Buy one for $6,000 and take the $6,000 tax credit. Governor Mike Huckabee got one. A friend of his got 7. Well, I got this one. Totally free. Free for me anyway. You taxpayers paid for it.
The deal sure helped the golf cart industry. My dealers sold 10,000 carts. At least the golf cart credit expired, but most government giveaways don't.
I fell in love with them.
But first you fell in love with the tax break.
Yes, I have to be honest. I might have had 2. I wouldn't have had 100.
Next, have you got some of these in your wallet? Be careful, I hear those evil credit card companies want to rip us off. But don't worry, government says it will stop credit card abuse. That's promise gone wrong number 5.
Enough's enough. It's time for strong, reliable protections for our consumers.
Protection. Finally. Congress passed the Card Act and a new bureaucracy that will stop credit card companies from unfairly penalizing you. And it won't threaten the credit business.
Unless your business model depends on cutting corners or bilking your customers, you've got nothing to fear from reform.
Yes, you do, say economists like Todd Zwicky. Once credit card companies couldn't penalize late payers.
They simply raised interest rates across the board for everybody.
Credit card interest rose from 13% to nearly 15%. Mortgage rates actually dropped a little. So did Treasury bill rates. But credit card interest went up. Also, banks stopped offering credit to some people. J.P. Morgan Chase cut off 15% of its customers.
Hundreds of thousands of people can't get cards who used to be able to have cards, and all the rest of us now have to pay more for credit.
Maybe they're better off not having credit because they couldn't handle it.
Just to say that they don't have a credit card doesn't mean that they don't have credit.
They'll just go to more expensive places.
You're going to go to the local payday lender or the local pawn shop to get the money that you need.
And really get ripped off.
And how much did you want to loan today?
Payday lenders are businesses that make small, short-term loans, often just till payday.
A bill came in and it was a little higher than I anticipated.
I borrowed $250. That was good for me.
But the annual interest, this place posted clearly 521%. Some places charge more.
800% interest is legal?
Maybe not once consumer protectors get Congress to ban those abusive payday loans. But what elites call abuse, some consumers call a way out.
I know people say predatory lending, blah, 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 high interest rate, but if you have an emergency.
For many people, payday lenders are the only way they can avoid missing a bill payment.
It's not just a matter sometimes of saving money, it's a matter of saving yourself grief.
Why don't they get a credit card? Oh, I forgot. These men made that tougher.
Every time I apply, they tear me down.
People who have limited choices when it comes to credit are not likely to have their situations improved by taking away some of those limited options that they have.
The political class promised to fix credit card penalties, but the penalties equal less than 7% of banks' earnings. Banks make much more charging interest. Politicians say they rip us off there too.
If they could get away with charging you 100% interest, they would.
Certainly they would. The problem is they can't. This is one of the most competitive markets in America. I've got 4 credit cards in my wallet. As I sit here talking to you, my credit cards are competing for my business. If one credit card tries to rip me off or charge me too much, or even if they don't talk to me nice on the phone, I'll switch to another credit card.
And caps on rates have unintended effects. Arkansas once capped interest at 10%.
Very few people could get a credit card in Arkansas as a result. Arkansas is also known as the pawn shop capital of America.
Pawn shop interest is often 250%.
In the 1960s, the second biggest revenue source of organized crime was illegal lending. Is that the world we want to go back to, where we get rid of payday lending and we're so morally outraged that we're going to put people in the hands of the leg breakers and the loan sharks? They charged an interest rate that was well over 1,000%, and their collection techniques are a lot tougher than your local pawn shops.
Now, promise gone wrong number 4. Government will give everyone health insurance, but for less money. That was a big one.
This was the triumphant signing ceremony. And then they gave the speaker a birthday celebration. Look at the big smiles. They were thrilled that their Affordable Care Act would give insurance to many more people for less money.
Can you imagine a more important birthday privilege than to be signing health care for all Americans?
Speaker Pelosi wouldn't talk to us about health care, nor would anyone from the administration. They told us to talk to Ron Pollock of Families USA, a group that fought for Obamacare. Giving people all these things, doesn't that create some unintended consequences, some bad stuff?
I don't think it creates bad stuff. It means that people can get preventive care.
No unintended consequences coming up now?
No, I don't believe that for a moment.
But I keep hearing about problems.
What we've got is rising premiums. We've got people being dropped from their health insurance plans. We've got health insurance companies fleeing the market.
The president told us,
if you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan. Let me repeat that. If you like your plan, you'll be able to keep it.
But Principal Financial has completely left the health insurance market. Their 1 million customers will have to find insurance elsewhere. Also,
3 insurance companies are dropping standalone child policies.
WellPoint, Humana, Cigna, have gotten out of the child-only business.
Yeah, well, the child-only business is less than 1% of those
Principal Financial Group got out of the whole business.
The fact that some marginal company drops out of the market
Some million
altogether.
Customers, not that marginal.
Yeah, but let them go out of business. Not a problem.
Not a problem.
No, not a problem.
When there are what the administration considers problems, they make exceptions.
100-plus employers have obtained waivers from the administration, which allows their workers to opt out of the new law.
So far, they've given out more than 100 free passes.
The biggest single waiver by the federal government was for the United Federation of Teachers.
But if this is such a good law, why do the politicians give waivers to those who kiss their ring?
No,
Sounds like
first of all,
cronyism.
The administration is taking a look at individual circumstances where a major change needs to be made by 2014. And
more than 100 already?
Yep.
A third of them to unions in New York City?
You know,
it sounds like a scam.
Well, I think that's a misinterpretation of what is happening.
And then there's the cost problem.
My proposal would bring down the cost of health care.
Not so far. Prices are up.
Facing rate increases of 1 to 9%.
Obamacare is just faith-based policy making. This idea that we can give people all sorts of benefits and there aren't going to be any costs.
Of course, maybe the problems were not unintended. Maybe Obamacare's supporters meant to kill off private insurance companies and leave us with government-run health insurance. But if that was their intent, there was still one unintended consequence.
The Republicans have gained control of the House of Representatives.
Next, politicians' promise number 3, they're going to solve our energy problem. You know, we're running out of this, or we buy too much of it from Arab sheiks. Their solution, take your money and give it to Americans who make ethanol.
Renewable, homegrown fuels.
Ethanol subsidies bring both parties together. After all, Americans can grow it and create
a nation that is stronger, cleaner, and more secure.
One that protects our national security, safeguards our environment, and promotes economic growth. Ethanol. Now is the time.
No, it's not.
Corn-based ethanol has been a case study in the law of unintended consequences.
Oh my gosh, something I can agree with Senator McCain about. He could not see the unintended consequences of things like McCain-Feingold, but at least he sees them for ethanol subsidies.
We should not be subsidizing ethanol.
We're trying to change America's fuel consumption pattern.
General Wesley Clark now fights for ethanol.
In 2008, we paid over $50 billion to the Saudi government for imported oil.
And we're still doing it even though we're paying you guys a ton.
The point is that the money that's paid on ethanol is money that stays within the American economy.
It does, but at what cost? The Congressional Budget Office says for each gallon of gas replaced with ethanol, we pay $1.78 in subsidy. But at least our money stays in the country. It makes me feel good. I'm keeping the money in America.
All these programs are designed to make people feel good. We're going to help the farmers and we're going to hurt the foreign oil producers with ethanol. And we don't look at what is not seen, which is the rising price of milk and the excessive amount of fertilizer and fuel that was used to produce this additional corn.
Oh yeah, food prices are higher because so much farmland now goes to corn used for ethanol. And we consume lots of corn.
Corn syrup sweetens thousands of foods. It helps create the meat we eat.
Corn's our biggest item.
Steve Fogelsong, who raises cattle, is mad that feed costs more now because ethanol is both mandated and subsidized.
If you want to do the same thing for me that you're doing for the ethanol guy, then you have to mandate that absolutely every man, woman, and child in America has to eat 50 pounds of beef, and then you're going to turn around and give me $2 a hundredweight on these steers. Then we're at the same place.
But the ethanol industry wants more subsidies while talking about free markets.
You should have free market competition.
Well, a free market means no subsidies.
Exactly. But it also means...
But you've been getting subsidies for years. Stop.
We're ready to transition out of the subsidies.
Okay,
but
tomorrow?
Well, it depends. Can you give us a chance so that Americans can have a choice as to what they put in their pumps?
By choice, he means government should now pay to have gas stations install these special ethanol pumps. But government didn't install gasoline pumps. Entrepreneurs did.
If the public wants it, service stations will do it. Why does the taxpayer have to pay $75?
Because it's like anything else. You've got to get it started.
You're a parasite feeding off the taxpayer. Stand on your own feet.
We're ready to stand on our own feet. To do that, it needs a fair playing field.
Fair? They want more subsidy when ethanol already gets $50 billion of your dollars, increases the cost of food, and, as it turns out, isn't even better for the environment than gasoline.
Corn ethanol is responsible for incredible environmental harm.
Ben Schreiber works for the environmental group Friends of the Earth. The Green Lobby once supported ethanol, but now they say
the environmental consequences of corn ethanol are worse than the environmental consequences of gasoline.
But this makes no sense. It was being done because of you environmental groups saying, oh, don't use oil, oil's bad.
But now that we've studied corn ethanol more fully, we realize that it actually has worse consequences than gasoline.
So, whoops, we were wrong, but now we can't undo it?
We're fighting to undo it.
But government programs are almost never undone.
Boondoggles live forever. You know, I said Cash for Clunkers was the dumbest program ever, but it's a lot smaller than ethanol. So ethanol might be pound for pound the dumbest program ever.
Promise gone wrong number 2. Government can increase home ownership.
We want more people owning their own home.
Some politicians even promised,
our home ownership strategy will not cost the taxpayers 1 extra cent.
It hasn't worked out that way.
These experts in the housing bubble point out not only did our policy cost taxpayers billions, it also
killed neighborhoods, it's ruined people's lives, it gave people an illusion they could afford something they couldn't afford, rich and poor.
I'm told greedy bankers caused the bubble.
Government exaggerates rather than minimizes the age-old impulse to greed. The government made it harder for bankers who wanted to do the right thing.
Because if a banker stayed with safe loans, he missed out on profit he could make selling lots of high-risk loans to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
If he was making good loans, he might only be earning 8% rather than 20%. Maybe he loses his job as CEO.
The most damage was done through the bundling of bad loans at Fannie and Freddie. But some was done by a law that requires banks to lend to disadvantaged people.
Make the goal of affordable housing a goal that is obtainable for all Americans.
So Congress told banks, make loans in poor neighborhoods, or we may not let you merge with other banks. Phyllis Salo-Kay runs an advocacy group that uses the law to demand that banks make more loans.
We said to banks, you have to make special products that are affordable to low and moderate income people, particularly women and minorities. Any bank merging knows they have to come and talk to us.
A bank that wants to merge has to talk to you?
They don't want us standing in front of their bank picketing. Whether we stand up dressed as a turkey at Thanksgiving and saying this bank's a turkey.
Sounds like you're running an extortion racket. Give us money or we'll stop your merger.
No, we say lend money.
Isn't that kind of like extortion?
It's the law. The law gives us the right to do it.
Even worse, government pushed mortgages that require down payments of just 3% or less. This chart shows how those loans gradually increased.
Having everyone own a home is not the American dream. It's the dream of the National Association of Realtors.
The National Association of Realtors wants you to take advantage of the $8,000 first-time homebuyer tax credit.
So, given all the foreclosures, did government stop subsidizing housing? No.
Honey, there's $8,000 in here.
We haven't learned the simplest lesson, which is we ought to stop fiddling with the housing market.
No, we haven't learned that lesson. Nor have we learned not to fiddle with the automotive market and the livestock market and college sports and healthcare and fuel and stadiums and credit cards and all the things that government promises to make better while really making them worse. And that's the number one promise gone wrong. These guys say they'll be fiscally responsible, and then we elect them and they spend more. They're spending us into bankruptcy. There must be 10,000 harmful programs, and yet they keep creating more. Why can't we cut them?
Every one of those 10,000 programs has a lobbyist in Washington.
And each lobbyist will spend big to preserve his program.
They've got these TV commercials with the soft music and rugged farmers producing these products.
And those lobbyists,
they always know when the bill is up before Congress, and they send political contributions. They send people to Washington to lobby, but the rest of us don't do that. Look at the Tea Party. They say don't spend so much money, but they don't have signs out there saying stop the Cash for Clunkers program, stop the ethanol program, stop the Title IX subsidy program. You could do a whole show on people should be more engaged. People should be better citizens. But the fact is we have lives, and there's no way that any normal person can know about the 10,000 programs that make up the $3.5 trillion federal budget.
And so the programs keep growing, and we must pay for their cost and their unintended consequences forever. Unless there's a new wind blowing in America, a new attitude, a new expectation that maybe Washington should do less. I hear there is. I sure hope so. That's our program for tonight. I'm John Stossel, hoping for a restoration of freedom. Good night.